Hey guys, today I want to talk about eloping, and even more specifically how a toddler having a lack of a tether, or how a toddler not staying really near their caregiver can be a possible sign of autism. But first, hit subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss any of our posts, especially our posts about autism, because that's a subject that comes up a lot around here. If you have any questions when this is over, definitely leave them down below and I will try to get to them as soon as I can. For anyone that's new here, I am the mom at Someday I'll Sleep Family Vlogs, and we are a family vlog about pretty much our day-to-day lives, but our lives are heavily influenced by the fact that more than one member is not neurotypical and that we have a rather neurodiverse family. Today's video is probably one of the videos that was more emotional for me to film, which might seem a little bit funny for you when you actually watch it. And that is because of the history behind it. And for me, eloping, which for those of you who aren't in the autism community, eloping is what we call it when someone with autism runs away. Usually it's used when a child with autism doesn't have necessarily a sense of danger and basically just kind of like starts running and keeps running. So like when Maggie was little, we first started noticing it when she was like about 18 months old. And we would be out, say, having a picnic in a big field, and we'd put her down and she would just take off and she'd keep going and she would never look back at us. And in the beginning it was like a joke. Look at how independent she is. She just goes and keeps going. And then as she got bigger, it wasn't so much a joke anymore because it started to be scary. And with Tessie, it was never a joke because it was always scary because we were already looking to the future. We already had the experiences with Maggie that were terrifying. We had already had the experience of like basically having to turn our house into Fort Knox, because if there is a window that is unlocked, if there is a door that isn't completely fortified, she is able to get past locks and get out of the house. And it's not because she is trying to get away, it's because she loves to run and she takes off in one direction and just goes. And not only that, she thinks she's a mermaid. She thinks she can swim. She can't. And I know people are always like, get her swim lessons. And you guys, I was a Red Cross swim instructor for 8 years. I was a lifeguard for 8 years. I've taught hundreds of kids how to swim, and I've tried to teach her how to swim. She has had weekly swim lessons at her school. We've paid for very, very expensive sensory swim lessons from special lifeguards. She is not developmentally at a point yet where she can learn how to swim. I really wish she was. When she gets to the point where she can learn how to swim and she can swim in a way that I feel comfortable with her, like when she can swim across the pool and when she starts hitting milestones in being able to swim, I am going to be incredibly excited because I will feel so much safer. It'll be like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders. Honestly, at this point when she gets in the water, though, she's just incredibly excited and she's just joyful and not learning how to swim. Getting back around to the point of this video, the other day we were at my mom and dad's house, Nanny and Popa's house, brand new house, which doesn't have a fence yet around their backyard. It doesn't have all the locks that we're going to be putting in it to keep Maggie and Tessie safe. And Tessie was playing in the front yard. Everyone was having a great time. And I was really actually happy with how she was kind of staying with the family. And I was actually thinking like, oh wow, look at how Tessie's staying with the family. Maybe it's going to be a little bit different with her. And she stayed with us for about 10 minutes.
Hey, cutie pie.
Which is longer than I think Maggie has ever stayed with us voluntarily without a fence. And then all of a sudden, Tessie just kind of like slipped around the side of the house and slipped around the back. And I followed her and I took my camera out and I started filming. And I just kind of stayed back behind her and followed. And a couple times she did kind of like look around, And once I think she turned around and saw me, but for the most part she was not looking at me at all. She was doing her own thing. Now, behind Nanny and Boba's house, there is a big seasonal river, and right now it is very much there. And so I was definitely like staying close to her, but she never went near the river. She hasn't realized the river's there because there's a huge amount of brush between the house and the river right now and trees blocking it. It was definitely emotional seeing this like not yet 2-year-old, and she absolutely does have no tether, just heading off by herself completely on her own. And that is different from how it usually is with a neurotypical kid, and that can be a sign of autism. Now, every kid is different. You know one person with autism, and that is something to remember. But a child not having a tether can be a sign of autism. And this wasn't something that I knew with Maggie, but this was an early indicator that she wasn't totally neurotypical. And it was something that could have been a red flag and could have been an indicator probably 2 years before we got her diagnosed. So that's why I'm talking about it today in a roundabout way. Most neurotypical kids have a tether. With Patch and James, when we go out in public, from the time they were little, they stay with, and everywhere we go, like, I unbuckle their seatbelts and they stay with me. And it's really weird for me still because neither Sadie or Maggie had tethers when they were little. Like, when I got them out of the car, I had to hold on to them from the time that they were small. And Sadie finally began to develop a tether when she was like 4. It was a completely different experience when Patch and James came along, and they stay with me. Here's the video, and it really demonstrates what you might see if you have a little tiny kid with autism. And it's gonna look different with an older kid, but Tessie is about to turn, right now, Tessie is about 2 weeks away from her 2nd birthday. She was diagnosed with autism when she was, her first ADOS that indicated she had autism was when she was 18 months old. She was diagnosed officially with a clinical diagnosis when she was 20 months old, and she's been in autism therapy since she was 21 months old. I am not gonna edit the videos so you can just kind of see what it's like, but at this point, this is what it was like. This is what she is like if I just kind of let her go and I followed behind her with a camera, letting her get as far away as I felt comfortable letting her get with the river behind my parents' house. And yeah, I was totally stressing out. And the reason I was totally stressing out was because Maggie has eloped, and she did get away from us one time, and I made a video about that, which I will link below, and I'm sure I've already put it in a card by now because, yeah, and it was quite the experience. I wrote about it when it happened. Anyways, and I'll link that down below too, the post that I wrote about that I wrote the day after it happened. Today, the point of this video is really the eloping and the child not having a tether, and so I will try to limit it to that. So here's the video, and yeah, this is a toddler who doesn't have a tether and doesn't really care if the grown-up or their family is anywhere near them. Here we go.
Tess, what are you doing? You can't just come out here by yourself. What if Mama hadn't seen you? Huh?